Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Air Jordan 39. So of course this is Michael Jordan's signature shoe, even though he's been retired for quite some time now, but this is his signature shoe, which of course the past previous models, he has been heavily involved in the overall design process of the Jordan signature shoe. So yeah, this shoe is Nike's most expensive shoe, or one of them. It retails for $200, and of course LeBron's are the same exact price for $200. But on Foot Locker and some other kind of like third-party retailers, they are $215 for some reason. But anyways, if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. How is the performance of the brand new Jordan model? We'll have to see, because I mean, in my first impressions, I absolutely love them, but for the full performance review, I've been playing these a lot, and how are they? We'll have to see, right? But again, if you guys do want to cop it, try to leave an affiliate link in the description box, and if you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the affiliate link in the description box, or I'll try to leave like a link underneath this video with like the pictures, or I'll try to leave it right over here. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support, but let's get it started off with the Tracciones. In this colorway, we have a fully translucent outsole, and it's pretty much a herringbone traction pattern, right? And it is a little bit chaotic. There's like another pattern underneath this herringbone, and of course through this translucent outsole we can see the full-length zoom bag with the Jumpman logo here in the forefoot, which is kind of, it's like upside down, which is kind of weird. But how is the traction? So when I first got it, I was like, yo, these feel so freaking good. These feel so freaking nice on my wood floors, right? And then I played in it, and then the first like couple times I played in it, the court was actually clean, right? And then I was playing on like the cleaner courts at LA Fitness, because there's a guy that usually cleans and dusts the court, right? So when I was playing on those really clean courts, or like pretty clean courts, this shoe is freaking amazing. It has an amazing stop, really hard bite, and also it has a very nice loud high-pitched squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but I feel like most people like to have a nice loud high-pitched squeak, which this shoe is extremely loud and very high-pitched, which I did enjoy, right? So if you're playing on a clean court, amazing. This is a top tier traction pattern, but if you're playing on a dirty court, right? So I was super duper excited. I had this in my rotation. I had it in my bag. I was like, yo, let's go hoop in the Jordan 39. I'm gonna have a great time. And I was going to, of course, a dirtier court. I go to different gyms, right? LA Fitness, 24 Hour Fitness, and some are usually a little bit less, you know, managed. You know, they don't really clean it ever, so it's a lot dirtier on those courts, right? So when I was playing on the dirty courts, there was a pretty big problem, right? And it was really dangerous for me, right? So it happened four times where I slid out dangerously on the really dirty court, right? So it's affected by dust a lot, right? So first of all, it does pick up dust very quickly, right? So you're gonna have like 1 to 2 good stops, and then it's gonna pick up dust, and then you're gonna need to wipe, right? So once you do wipe, you have a few good stops, but again, you're gonna have to wipe really, really quickly, or else you're gonna start sliding around, right? But also, if you're playing even like on a slightly dusty court, it doesn't really bite through dust that well. So when that happens and you let too much dust build up, I slid out really dangerously, right? You know when you try to go in, right? When you're going in and then you do like a really hard stop, and then I usually do like a pump fake. I landed and stuck my foot onto the ground, and it slid out like a foot, and then I literally fell, and I strained my ankle. Well, I kind of like hurt my ankle and it strained my Achilles a little bit, and that happened like twice pretty dangerously. It happened like 1 to 2 more times, kind of not as bad, but still kind of bad, which made me feel very unsafe, right? So if you're playing on a dusty court, this shoe is not it. You know, it's pretty bad. Hopefully if they do come out with solid rubber outsoles options, you know, it'll be better, but with the translucent, it's not that good, and it's pretty dangerous. So be careful on that if you're doing really hard stops, right? If you're doing kind of like okay stops and you don't stop or cut that hard, I feel like you should be okay, but again, not the best performance on dust. If you're playing on an outdoor court, however, I feel like, I mean, first of all, it's a $200 shoe, but also the grooves are kind of deep, but the rubber is a little spaced, or it's pretty spaced apart, and it moves with my finger a little bit. So I feel like it's probably not going to be the best option. I definitely feel like the rubber is going to tear off a little bit. So yeah, probably refrain from playing on outdoor court. So yeah, the traction, when I was playing on a clean court, amazing. I loved it, but again, pretty dang dangerous on a dusty court. So there's that. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, pretty dang smooth. So here in the heel, I thought it was gonna be super freaking clunky, right? So for example, like the Jordan 12, I hate the Jordan 12 because it's just so clunky. It feels like a boot. It doesn't even bend at all, you know what I mean, for the overall like sole of the shoe. But here we have a nice rounded shape, and also here for the rubber, it's actually kind of soft. It allows for a little bit of compression here. Like when you press it, it's soft, and also when you kind of like dig your heel into the ground with the shoe on, it's still pretty soft. So it's nice here in the heel actually, right? And also here in the forefoot, we got a nice curved shape. And then for the overall kind of like springiness of the shoe, it does feel pretty dang nice, right? It is flexible here in the forefoot. Not too much spring back, you know what I mean? It's a little bit more flexible, but it does feel pretty nice for the heel to toe transition springiness, right? But also there is no midfoot shank. Look at that. There's no midfoot shank plate. You know what I mean? For a $200 shoe. That's kind of crazy. I don't know why they didn't add that. But yeah, they didn't. And of course, like most people should be fine for torsional support. But if you need a lot of torsional support, obviously this probably isn't the best option, but I feel like most people will be fine. So overall heel to toe transition is pretty dang smooth. And now moving on to the cushioning setup. So also, for my first impressions, I was super duper excited about it because, of course, it is using ZoomX foam and a full-length Zoom unit, right? And it is bottom-loaded, but when I tried it on, it was really bouncy. There's a lot of compression. It's full-length, so you feel it in the heel, the midfoot, and also in the forefoot, right? And also, comparing it to a full-length Zoom Strobel unit, it's not segmented, right? So it's not articulated, right? So if you look at a full-length Zoom Strobel unit, for example, like the KD15, it's articulated so that the Zoom unit is pretty much, it's bouncy in that area, right? The part where it's segmented or articulated. But with this setup, it's just full length. It's not articulated, it's not separated or segmented. So you feel the air go throughout the entire Zoom bag, right? So it feels a little bit more fluid and a little bit smoother, I would say, versus like a targeted bounce for the full length Zoom Strobel unit. However, I did play in it a lot, right? And going to play in it a lot, it just felt a little bit sloppy to me, like a little bit slow, a little bit too soft in my personal opinion. And just for my first impression, I was super excited because it was very bouncy, right? There's a lot of compression, but I kept playing in it. And comparing it to other shoes, it just didn't feel super duper responsive, right? And when I was playing on a clean court though, it didn't bother me as much because the traction was grabbing and it was really nice, right? But then when I was playing on a dustier court and I was sliding around a good amount, plus the cushion being really soft, I did not feel responsive at all, right? So just be careful with that. I definitely wish either maybe they shouldn't have used ZoomX because ZoomX is extremely soft, right? If you remove the insole, and you can see there's a regular Strobel board, but there is a kind of like a hole and it looks like it's ZoomX foam, right? And then probably underneath that is the full-length Zoom unit. So maybe not use ZoomX or maybe put a little bit more PSI into the Zoom unit, right? Either one of those would have worked a little bit better. But yeah, if you're gonna walk around casually, it's gonna be extremely comfortable, right? Again, you know, Zoom unit, there's a lot of compression, there's a lot of bounce, it's super duper soft. It actually almost kind of reminds me of like a full-length Air Strobel unit, you know, with how soft it is versus like a Zoom Strobel unit, which has a little bit more PSI. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing in that way because I didn't feel super responsive. But again, if you want like a lot of compression and like it's bouncy in a way, but again, it's like it's soft to the point where it doesn't feel super explosive, if you get what I mean, you know what I mean? So when I was playing in it, it's like I just felt a little like mushy, you know, a little sloppy in like the responsiveness department for the cushioning setup. The overall court feel is pretty good. I would say it's around average, maybe a little bit better than average. Also, like I said, I do like how it's not super clunky, so there is a little bit of compression or a good amount of compression here in the heel, even though it is heavily caged. Impact protection, of course, is great. Just the overall Zoom unit, like step in comfort, I feel like is a little bit too soft for me, right, personally, because usually I want a responsive setup, right? So there is a cushioning setup. I'm not saying it's terrible, but there are some pros and there are some cons, right? And now moving on to the upper. So we have a combination of leather and also kind of like a mesh material with some embroidered parts, right? So here in the toe box, it actually, like when I look at it, it kind of looks like underwear, like a Speedo, you know what I mean? But anyways, they are using a really nice quality leather, and I do like it. It doesn't feel super duper cheap. It's not super buttery premium, you know what I mean? But it doesn't feel cheap, right? And also we have these two cutouts here with the like textile material, and also on the lateral and medial sides the same thing. And the embroidered parts do add for a little bit more support and rigidness to the overall material, which does feel nice. And then here for the leather material, kind of extends a little bit into the eyelets as well as turning into the tongue a little bit. And then there is nice padding here for the tongue, which does feel nice. And then coming into the tongue, like the top, we do have like not that much padding honestly, but on the right pair we have like a embroidered kind of picture of MJ, which is really cool. Right? That's actually really cool that they embroidered it looks like. And it's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall 1-to-1 fit. And then in the ankle area, we have like an average amount of padding, not super well padded, but the padding does feel like a memory foam type of padding, which does feel kind of nice. It feels plush, but overall not super cozy, you know? So it does feel nice, right? It's really soft, especially once you break it in. It doesn't even take that long to break in. It gets really soft. It's also not super thick. I would say it's like around average where the leather is, but it's pretty thin where the textile is. But conforms to your foot extremely well and is overall very supportive. And then we have some more leather here in the back of the shoe with this kind of like plastic, right? So overall, I do like the materials. The quality is pretty dang nice as well. Now moving on to the fit. So for this pair, I did go up half a size, right? And then shout out to Jordan Brand, they sent me a pair and this I went true to size because this shoe I went up half a size and it runs a little bit long, right? So if you want a very snug fit, very nice snug fit, I would suggest going true to size for the length, right? Lengthwise going true to size, this is really nice for me, right? Also here in the toe box, it is quite snug. Even going up half a size, it is a little bit snug, but it is a little bit roomier obviously than the pair that I went true to size in. But yeah, this is really, really nice for me, and width-wise, I would say it's around normal width. Not super narrow, not super wide. So overall, going true to size for me was really, really nice. It's just my toes go really close to the edge of the shoe going true to size lengthwise, so just be careful with that. But again, for most people, if you do want that snug fit, I would suggest going true to size. If you want a snug fit playing basketball, right? But if you want to be walking around casually and you know, because the cushioning setup is just so comfortable, then you should be fine going up half a size, right? And now moving on to the support and lockdown. So support and lockdown is pretty good, but there are some issues with that department, right? So for lateral containment, I was fine, right? So for lateral counters, you're gonna be good to go. Like I said, this leather material overall for the upper is supportive, right? And also it kind of comes here into the forefoot on the lateral side, giving the upper a little bit more support. And also the rubber cage comes up here in the forefoot, acting as a sidewall. Here in the midfoot, same thing. We have a little bit of plastic, right? They added a little bit of plastic here, raising it, acting as a sidewall. And then here in the heel, same thing. The rubber comes up, but also there is an internal TPU heel counter. So lateral containment's good. My foot was not coming out of the footbed at all, which felt great, right? But of course, the thing for me was lateral stability, right? And it wasn't terrible for me, but it combining everything, you know what I mean? So the traction on dust, also the really soft underfoot cushion with the ZoomX and full-length Zoom unit, with the lateral instability, especially playing on a dusty court, just made me feel really kind of sluggish when I was playing in this shoe, you know what I mean? So obviously there is no outrigger, you know what I mean? And it's not to the point where this shoe is super narrow, right? For example, I have the AE1 low, and the AE1 low has really good lateral stability. It's a wide base, you're low to the ground, right? So let's actually compare the width. And I don't think it's gonna be that different. Maybe the AE1's gonna be a little bit wider. Yeah, just a tiny bit wider. Look at that. You know what I mean? So it's like maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 millimeters wider. But again, like there is no outrigger here, right? And also there is a little bit of a rounded shape here in the forefoot on the lateral side, and also here in the heel you can see that it is a little bit rounded on the edges as well, which doesn't really help, right? For example, here in the AE1, look at this. Look at how wide it is, and also look at how flat the shape is, adding for a little bit more, or actually way more stability. A shoe that's extremely crazy, however, that takes it to another level is the Y11 actually. So look at the difference in the width, right? So here in the forefoot, look at that. That's like freaking, like what, 2 inches? And then also in the heel, look at the heel as well, right? That's absolutely insane. Like the lateral stability in the Y11 is crazy. But yeah, the lateral stability wasn't the greatest here in the 39. Again, I didn't roll my ankles, but it just felt a little wobbly to me. And then combining that, again, like I said, with everything else, it didn't make me feel super quick in the shoe, right? As far as lockdown goes, I didn't have any heel slippage. My heel felt locked into the shoe. And when I tightened the laces, it felt like my foot felt locked into the shoe. However, something with the insole, I don't know what it is, or maybe it's because the width wasn't super tight on my foot, but when I was playing, my socks were kind of moving around inside the shoe. So that also, combining that, and they're all kind of like little things, but adding all those up together just did, again, it felt a little sluggish to me. Compared to like, you know, a drop in midsole, right? For example, in like the 808 4 Ultra with the very fine texture on the boom, you know, right? That's what I'm talking about with the lockdown, like really locking down your foot and your sock into the shoe. But anyways, there's that. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe. So if I remember correctly, it was a little bit lighter than average, right? So let's check the left pair. Oh, no, it's 12.9 ounces, so it's a little bit heavier than average. Let's check the other shoe. 13.05 ounces, so average around 13 ounces, right? The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces, so it's just a tiny bit heavier than average. And yeah, honestly, it doesn't feel too bad for the weight. So the number weight and how the shoe feels on foot it doesn't bother me really at all. And also, like, it doesn't really feel clunky or anything, which surprised me because there's just so much rubber and the caging is kind of crazy, right? And also with this leather material, I thought it would be maybe a little bit thick and a little bit cumbersome, but it's actually not. So all that felt good. But again, like I said, when I was playing on a clean court, I didn't mind it all too much because I had really good stops. Again, the cushion is just a little bit too soft and a little bit too mushy for me personally, especially for the underfoot cushion. But I'm sure there's gonna be people that do enjoy it, right? But also combining the traction on dust when I was playing on a dusty court with the mushy cushion and the lateral instability a little bit, and also my foot sliding inside of the shoe just a tiny bit because I don't know, the insole material is like it's like this, like, I don't know, it just didn't grab my sock that well. You know what I mean? All that combined together, I didn't feel as quick and responsive as I wanted to. And also after I slid out really dangerously and kind of like hurt my ankle a little bit, I was a little bit scared to go hard in this shoe when I was playing on a dusty court. So definitely do be careful if you're playing on a dusty court. And also, yeah, it's just not a super responsive shoe, right? So there's that. Moving on to the ventilation, not really, you know what I mean? There are ventilation holes here in the tongue, but not a lot of airflow and no airflow through the leather, obviously. So it's a pretty hot shoe. And moving on to the aesthetics, I love it. I actually got a couple of compliments on this shoe. It looks great. Also, I definitely feel like you can wear this casually. You know what I mean? It's a great casual looking shoe. And I do like the overall kind of like simple design of it. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, first impressions, I was super impressed. I was very, very excited to try these out. And then I was pretty disappointed. You know what I mean? Again, it's not a terrible shoe, but you are paying a lot of money for this, right? It's $200 freaking, and they are giving you a lot of tech, like full length Zoom X, and you're getting pretty nice, you know, leather materials and stuff like that. But I feel like they did a little bit too much with the cushion, right? And also another thing that they definitely could have fixed is the outrigger. Definitely every single basketball shoe needs to have an outrigger, you know what I mean? Especially with a cushion this soft underneath your foot. It needs every single basketball shoe because you need stability, right? So with all those reasons, I definitely feel like it's not the best hoop shoe, and it's kind of hard for me to recommend to you guys. Again, if you're an older person and you need cushion and you like something really, really soft, especially for underfoot cushion, this is one of the best you can get, you know what I mean? And also it combines that with a pretty good court feel and really good traction on a clean court, right? So if you're looking for that, then this is nice. But again, if you're a younger player and you don't really need that, you want more responsiveness like I feel like most guards do, then again, this is not the best option, which is I'm very, very sad about, you know what I mean? Because again, I really did like this shoe and I really did want to like it, but there were a couple of issues with this shoe, right? So I did actually enjoy playing in this shoe when I was playing on a clean court sometimes, you know what I mean? Again, it's just a very fun, bouncy, soft cushioning setup, but if I really wanted to get serious, this definitely is not a shoe that I would be picking for my rotation, right? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Jordan 39. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave in the free link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.